Hello and welcome to another analysis behind the news. U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions gave a speech to the Fraternal Order of Police today and reported that President Trump is signing an executive order rescinding an Obama-era policy of not giving local and state police access to surplus military gear from the Defense Department. After that announcement, he received a thunderous applause. And mainstream media then made the conclusion that Trump was lifting limits to police for military gear, when in actuality, Obama had already reversed some of those restrictions in 2016. Mentioned in a New American article from July 2016, Joel Wolverton writes, "While most stories published by traditional media outlets have focused on the 1033 program, the Defense Department's program that takes decommissioned military gear and passes it to police, that well of war machines and material isn't nearly as deep as the one controlled by the Department of Homeland Security. This second source is rarely even mentioned in the context of controlling police access to military equipment." But Radley Balco, the author of books and articles revealing the depth and danger of the militarization of police, uncovers this virtually ignored arrangement between the feds and local law enforcement. He writes in the Washington Post, and again, this is from July of 2016, "Since 2003, for example, the Department of Homeland Security has been giving grants to police departments around the country to purchase new military-grade gear. That program now dwarfs the 1033 program. It has also given rise to a cottage industry of companies that build gear in exchange for those DHS checks. Those companies now have a significant lobbying presence in Washington. I suspect that presence will now only grow stronger. So if the Obama administration really wants to roll back police militarization, this program needs reform too." So the federal government issues grants and military gear through at least two avenues. One through the Defense Department, and the second through the Department of Homeland Security. So, what's among the items that police can receive? Armored vehicles, grenade launchers, rifles, and camouflage uniforms. Mr. Sessions calls this life-saving gear. And these programs began in about 1990 to help state and local police gear up during the so-called war on drugs. So what's happened? The number of arrests increased by nearly 1 million per year from 1990 to 2007, with sales and manufacturing arrests holding steady, but possession arrests skyrocketing with more and more adults being arrested. While there are various factors that push people into abusing drugs, including the overprescribing of prescription drugs, one can make a clear case that the federal government's technique of declaring war on something by showering trillions of dollars into prevention and enforcement definitely is not working. But our lawmakers merely insist that more funds are needed and double down, instead of admitting that these unconstitutional programs have led to a war on American liberty. The so-called war on terror helps demonstrate this well. Since September 11th, 2001, our federal government has used the war on terror as an excuse to assume powers it was never granted, trampling individual liberty that our lawmakers have given in exchange for false security. Local law enforcement has historically stood as a bastion of liberty, protecting local communities and individual rights from the tramplings of unconstitutional edicts. They swear an oath to uphold the Constitution and the community they serve. Yet when communities are approached by the federal government to be partners with them in the war on drugs, the war on terror, and whatever other wars they can dream up of, they are usually given extensive resources including money, gear, and training, not to mention pushing other incentives that make it a no-brainer for cash-strapped communities to accept. When that pipeline opens and becomes an unstopping flow, few question the ramifications. This money, gear, and training comes with unintended consequences that slowly move the allegiance of law enforcement and the overseeing community leaders from that of their local communities to the federal dictates accompanying the resources. Communities begin to be looked upon as something to be controlled instead of something to be served. Joe Wolverton concludes in the same New American article, "One wonders how the goal of reducing violent encounters between police and the public is furthered by endowing the former with the firepower capable of killing the latter en masse. Moreover, there is something psychologically significant about a police officer being outfitted with a uniform, a helmet, and weapons that were obviously made to protect the wearer, a warfighter, from an enemy and to enable him to kill that enemy. As Tech Dirt writes, put someone in war gear and they're going to be pretty sure they're in a war, rather than serving the public as a trusted member of the community." Senator Rand Paul summed it up best on his Twitter account by writing, "Americans must never sacrifice their liberty for an elusive and dangerous or false security. I disagree with Attorney General Jeff Sessions on 1033. The militarization of our law enforcement is due to an unprecedented expansion of government power in this realm. And it's one thing for Fed officials to work with local authorities to reduce or solve crime. It's another for them to subsidize militarization." So what's happening to our local police? Many do not realize how vital it is for us to keep our local police independent of any entangling alliances with the federal government. So we ask you to head over to jbs.org and click on our Support Your Local Police and Keep Them Independent project to learn more. Then share this video with family and friends, subscribe to our channels, and sign up for our email updates. Until next time, we'll see you then.